Right now we're in an old barn that my grandfather built in the 1930s, and we've patched it up the best we could, and it's kind of fallen down, but we're using it as a little kind of recovery area for some of our pigs. So in here we have a litter group of piglets that we're going to be talking about mostly today. So our hogs, we raise two different breeds. We have Berkshire pigs, which are the black-faced pigs with the white socks there. And then we have a Tamworth hog, which is an Irish origin hog, and they're really great foragers. So we have those two breeds because the Berkshire has a really excellent meat quality. So we select them because, you know, there's really just unrivaled marbling and meat quality with that pastured pig. And the Tamworth has a lot of mothering instincts, and they're very hardy sort of foraging breeds. So we try to cross those two things to get the meat quality and the hardiness of the other one. So when the pigs start out, they're in a whole nother part of the farm. About half a mile away, we have all the mamas and papas over there doing their thing. And we group the sows up in groups of about 8, and then we try to have them all farrow, which means give birth, all around the same time. And that group of piglets that comes out at that same time, usually about 60 to 80 piglets, they stay in that discrete group for their entire life cycle here at the home place for the rest of their lives. So there's some similarities to how we raise the pigs in the situation we're in now. I'll try not to torture the metaphor, but they do practice social distancing from all other groups within that litter group. And the reason we need to do that is because hogs are very interactive, they're very smart, and they're very social. So they are constantly reestablishing pecking orders and interacting. And if you mix them with a group that's a little bit older or bigger, the bigger guys can, you know, really pick on the smaller guys, and they can swap around different things that their immune systems, that the younger ones' immune systems might not necessarily be immune to yet. So you start to see a lot of pigs do what's called falling out of that group, meaning losing body condition and just not really gaining and becoming sick. That's mostly due to over competition for resources. So occasionally our boars don't, it's not as occasional as I would like, but they don't stay where they're supposed to. They're big and powerful, and they break out. And when we have that happen, being these sexual athletes that they are, they make quick work of breeding every female they come across. And that's really bad because all of those females farrow at the same time, and that sort of overwhelms our system. So when that happens, we have too many piglets on the ground in the same time in the same space, and we don't have enough really infrastructure for them. So that just happened, and we had a really large group of about 130 piglets, which is way bigger than we'd like to have in a litter group. So we noticed, you know, we had this problem of a lot of them falling out of the group. So we don't use antibiotics here at Home Place unless it's absolutely necessary to save an animal's life. And if we do that, we don't process them and sell them under our brand. We just sell it to a local livestock auction. But once we give an animal antibiotics, we cannot slaughter or process it. So that's really a last resort, and we do that to safeguard antibiotics for animal health and for human health. But anyway, that's another tangent. But what we found is that if we can get these larger groups and we pull out the smaller, kind of more sickly ones, a lot of the things that they're going through, whether it's scours or pink eye or having a bad case of mange, certain skin infections, any bacterial infection, those are just manifestations of stress. And what we found is if we can manage stress levels, then we kind of knock a lot of these things out at the source. We nip it in the bud, in other words. So these little guys are kind of those ones that fell out of the group, and we fixed them up this really nice area in Granddad's old mule barn. And within about 48 hours, they just turn around. They start gaining weight. They're not having the competition for resources, and it's pretty satisfying and amazing to see them just come alive over here and start to grow like normal, healthy pigs. So that's what we've got going on in the barn. Behind me, we have another litter group that's ahead of them, grazing out here on pasture. That big silo thing is their feed. We grow non-GMO corn here on the home place and mix our own feed ration for the pigs. There's also some renegade little guys running around that I'm gonna start chasing as soon as we finish filming this. But the way we do this, again, that social distancing, if you will, I'm using that term now. We try to keep a blank paddock between every group of pigs so that they're not sharing the same fence line, because then they rub noses. And when they rub noses, they immediately swap all the germs and bacteria that they have. So that also allows us the opportunity to let paddocks rest. One of the main challenges of raising hogs outdoors is that they're very destructive. And you can see one paddock out here, it's particularly muddy. They got a little over-trampled this winter in all the rain, and we just couldn't put them anywhere else. So we had to kind of let them hog that down while we let our other paddocks come in. So also behind us, we have 2 paddocks that I planted a mix of grasses, legumes, and brassicas on for my calves. I overgrazed it a little bit because I wanted to really get them to have all of that forage, because they're ruminants and they can really use it. And now as a result, when I overgrazed it a little bit this winter and early spring, we've got some buttercup coming up out here, which is an undesirable weed. But the hogs don't really mind. We got good soil coverage, and you can still see some of the clover and grasses really doing well out there. So this is all part of a dynamic system where we're raising multiple layers of life in the same area. So it's more like managing an ecosystem than a farm in some ways, and that's the way we like to look at it. So that's really important for changing the sort of paradigm and the way that we like to think about land management and raising healthy animals. And I think that the reason that we do this and the reason we love it is because our decisions on a daily basis directly affect the well-being and health of our soils, of our grasses, and of all of these animals that we have out here, this abundance of life. And we start to see that if we take better care of them and of the animals and the soils and the grasses and the forages, that our wildlife really starts to come back, and we start to see more diversity and abundance as a result of that. And those decisions also directly impact the well-being of our staff. We're in a tiny community of 1,100 people. We're 5 miles outside of that community. We've created 16 jobs out here that are well-paying, livable wages, and we've created a dynamic business where we interact with chefs and eaters from all over the Southeast. So we feel like those decisions really kind of go all the way up the chain to the health and well-being of our customers as well, because when you invest in our products, you're really investing in every piece of that process with us. The land, the animals, our rural economy, our staff, our community here in Como, and then this meat is so much better for you. So it's a very intricate and dynamic process and difficult to capture in a brief video, but we just want people to understand that especially now with this miserable pandemic that we're in the middle of, it really kind of shines a light on the fact that our convenient, cheap consumer economy is the really backbone of that is global supply chains, and that's very fragile. And so we've seen this huge surge of support in the last 3 weeks for this type of system, for community agriculture, for local supply chains. And it's not just in food, it's in every sector, but we just feel like the resilience of what we're doing is so important, and we're just very grateful to you guys for supporting it. So thank you so much. I will sign off now and give you one last sweeping vista of the farm.